Polizei zusammen mit Opposition gegen uns, gegen Friedensaktivisten. Es war eine Erfahrung, ich kann nicht vergessen. So, vielleicht ist es besser, ich kann auf Englisch für meine amerikanische Kollegen hier in die amerikanische Botschaft. Ich kann auf Englisch sprechen, so die Leute können da verstehen, was habe ich gesehen. So I was there with the EPC, the Embassy Protection Collective. We were about 30, 40, 50 of us in the beginning of my week, of 2 weeks there. It was peaceful. There was people together, talking, working together, taking care of this embassy that had the government of Maduro, like him or not, gave the keys legally to these people, these activists, to watch over this embassy, to take care of it, as international law stipulates. We were there, we helped clean, we cooked, we washed dishes, we did security details. There were people 24 hours a day going inside and outside this Venezuelan embassy in DC to make sure the police wouldn't come. They always knew they would, but there was always preparation. We did events, we did cultural, political events in the embassy, invited many people from all over the country, all over the world, to see what was happening and what we were there for, the reasons that we were there. And it was unbelievable, the solidarity that I felt when I was there with this collective. Then came April 30th, and the coup attempt in Venezuela from our Guaido, from Juanito, backed by the US government, my government. They attempted the coup, it failed, but that same time that it happened in Venezuela, opposition, with police help, descended on the embassy, and it was no more peaceful. It wasn't peaceful anymore. All of a sudden, the police blocked the activists left outside from coming in. They still had maybe 15 activists left inside, blocked inside. Opposition started coming, swarming all over the place. And then what I saw was also unbelievable, but this time from a negative standpoint. There were people in the opposition hurling racial slurs, sexist slurs, gender slurs, saying all types of unbelievable things, and it didn't go from there. There were attacks using megaphones directly in people's ears, horns, blast air horns directly in the ears. Police watched as that happened. These laser lights, very powerful laser lights, strobe lights, pushing in people's eyes, basically blinding them. It's like a weapon. It's a non-lethal weapon, but categorized as a weapon nonetheless. Police did nothing. Then there were also physical attacks. Some of our peace activists that were gathered trying to show solidarity with the people still inside, with our people still inside guarding the embassy legally, were accosted, physically assaulted, blocked. We were trying to give food to people stuck inside this Venezuelan embassy in DC, just trying to give them food. Police would arrest us. People who would just try and throw food while being blocked and pushed and grabbed by, and hit in the head by opposition. We would just throw bread or some water or something to try to get into the window. Police would immediately arrest people. There was a 72-year-old Vietnam veteran who went there, came all the way from San Diego, across the country, to be there, show solidarity. He was a veteran against war, veteran for peace. 72-year-old man, he tried to throw food up. Secret Service tackled him to the floor. Very hard treated him. He was bleeding from the head, bleeding from the knees. They didn't even call the ambulance. We had to call the ambulance, make sure he was okay, and then of course he was arrested. Arrested for what? Throwing a missile. He threw a missile. For throwing food, apparently that's the new charge, that you throw missiles by throwing bread and water to people in the embassy, to activists. So it was clear that the police, Secret Service, and opposition worked together against these activists who were legally in this embassy. More arrests, more pushing, more shoving, more attacks, more all types of insults hurled at us, and the Secret Service just watched by. But then when they saw that their press wasn't working, the coup didn't work, they went to more extremes. Then we saw the PEPCO, the power and electric company, water company, they turned off the power to the embassy, turned off all the lights. Then they turned off the water in the embassy. By then there were only 4 more activists left. So they basically wanted to starve them out of the embassy. And I was proud to hear what they said. They wouldn't move. They would even do a strike, a hunger strike, because they weren't leaving, because they knew they had the legal right to be there. They were under international law. So after all these tactics still didn't work, they still kept us out, still kept them in, and still had the opposition coming to cause chaos, cause havoc. By this time I was back in Berlin, but then through the media I had seen Jesse Jackson, the prominent peace activist who marched with Martin Luther King, went to the embassy to give food. The police didn't know what to do, the opposition didn't know what to do because he's such a prominent figure. So they backed off, except one guy was pulling the food. You can see it online in Twitter and YouTube. Pulling the food, he let it in. We successfully had food get into these soon-to-be starved-out activists. And the very next day, I think the State Department and Guaido's people panicked. They said, if this guy comes and more prominent people come, we will have lost this battle, just like we lost the 3rd, 4th coup attempt in Venezuela. So what did they do? They illegally raided. Secret Service came in. Even though the activists had openly said that we will go peacefully, we won't go willingly, but we will be peaceful. They came in with battering rams. They came in with full helmets, garb, looking like it was a terrorist operation for 4 hungry peace activists inside. They got him out. They went to jail. They finally got control of this embassy. And in the process, the U.S. broke international law openly to everybody. These peace activists were there legally. They were trying to protect international law, and this is what you got. But I'm back. The experience was, some would say a loss. I'd say it was a win. It was a win because it exposed, it lifted the veil once again to what corrupt governments will do, what they'll do to wage war against a country that didn't attack them, to starve out people in an embassy. They'll starve out a country just like they'll do the embassy. See what lengths they'll go to, how the police will cooperate with mobs and attack peace activists that don't do anything against them but support international law. This experience, though, has made me more aware, stronger, and it definitely made those activists who got out of jail stronger. This didn't stop anything. This was the first phase. Now they say, and I'm all on board with them, to push the movement to a new level. They want to restart the peace movement in the U.S. and internationally, starting with Venezuela, but it applies to any country who's on the list, on the hit list. So coming in the General Assembly in the UN in New York, they're going to have a big gathering there. I hope that anyone watching or listening can join that effort and efforts before and until that point and after to support this collective that really did a brave thing, put their bodies on the line for peace and for justice, international justice. So 2 weeks there in DC, it was an experience I'll never forget. Ich hoffe am besten für diese Leute, meine Freunde, meine Kollegen, da und hier. Und immer habe ich und haben wir Solidarität mit EPC. Viva!